Lads, we're back.
Good morning.
It is 10:07 a.m.
Eastern time.
Yeah, Eastern. Yeah, who cares about the rest of the country's time? Mountain time. Go climb a mountain.
There's
Pacific
one guy
time.
not going to mountain time, by the way.
What?
One
What?
player not going to mountain time, like we assumed last night.
Yeah,
Wow,
I'm mad about
was-
that.
Hey.
That was a
So-
great pun.
So if you've listened to last night's episode, sucks. The first segment doesn't matter anymore. If you haven't listened to it, skip the first 10 minutes because we were very much on the train of Kevin Weeks' report about how Calgary were going to get Eichel and Tkachuk was going to go the other way, and it was going to be fun. Instead, apparently about 4 a.m. sometime this morning. I don't know which one it was. I didn't see a time zone, but the East Coast is what matters, so we're just going to go with Eastern time. Jack Eichel is now a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. It's over. It's I don't know. It's because if it's not like the Erik Karlsson trade that happened like 20 minutes after one of our lectures, and I was awake, and it wasn't texts from both Alex and my mother saying, "Oh, so he's a Golden Knight." I'm tired. So, for those of you who are wondering about the details, well, I'll tell you. First off, Alex, can you just remind me who was the quote untouchable piece for Vegas in this whole thing?
Peyton Krebs is what we were told.
Peyton Krebs. Okay, that's good to know. So, the return is as follows. The Buffalo Sabres have sent Jack Eichel, and we're going to get to the third in a second. Don't worry about it. Jack Eichel is now a Vegas Golden Knight, as we know. The Golden Knights send back Alex Tuch, a.k.a. the only guy without any trade protection. What a surprise. Peyton Krebs, their 2019 first rounder, I believe. A 2022 second. Oh, sorry, that's a first rounder. And yes, they swap third rounder. So again, it is Krebs, Tuch, a first this year, and they are swapping thirds of the teams, which is so NHL. It's hilarious. Now,
And the first is top 10 protected.
I'm going to get to that. How dare you? It's too early, Alex. Because it is a surprisingly complicated condition here. So if Vegas' first round pick in 2022 is not top 10 predicted, then Vegas will transfer its own first round pick in 2022 and its own second round pick in 2023 to Buffalo. And then Buffalo will transfer its own third rounder in 2023. If Vegas' first round draft pick in the 2022 NHL draft is top 10, then Vegas will transfer its own pick in 2023 and its own second rounder in 2024, and then Buffalo send its 2024 third rounder. What the hell?
So
What's
many
that
conditions.
about? Yeah, like, what? Why is there so much hoopla about thirds in that? First off, can we just talk about how the hell is there a top 10 protected on that? How does Buffalo, first off, just to remind everyone, this is what Kevin Weeks said yesterday. The understanding was it was going to be Tkachuk, an upcoming first rounder, a player drafted in the first round, and 2 prospects. So I don't know what happened there, because I think Andy Strickland last night was like, so forget about Tkachuk, and maybe that happened. But how do you guys feel about the trade? How did Buffalo do to start, we'll say?
Well, compared to the Calgary trade, this is a little underwhelming. Just for me. But I guess we got the trade. It's a decent trade. I think they probably could have gotten more if they had done this earlier and hadn't kind of skewered and screwed around with how they were going to do this trade.
Yeah, I don't know. I said it last night where if they were going to do the Calgary trade, there's a lot of amount of certainty there that I liked about it, where you have a building block like Matthew Tkachuk to do something with the franchise to, at least get another guy there that could help with that young core they're trying to build. With Vegas, it's the same thing I said, where you get, a guy like Alex Tuch, but you already know what he is. But a lot of the other pieces there, they're just not known yet. Like Peyton Krebs is the centerpiece there, but we don't know if he's going to be a winger. He's going to be a center. I know he's only 20, but he's been in the NHL already and he's struggled a bit. So not saying like too much there, but I'm just saying that in a stable situation that he had, there's still a lot of growth to be there. So it's still going to be a long-term project with a lot of that for the Sabres.
What was it, that saying that, I think it may have been Paquin, you don't trade a young player till you're 100% sure. Listen, we don't quite know what Brandstrom is right now. And I'll just quickly read you a tweet here from Chris Peters. Vegas's first round picks all time. Cody Glass was obviously traded for Nolan Patrick in the offseason. Nick Suzuki in the Pacioretty trade, thank you. Eric Branson was traded for Mark Stone. The 2018 first rounder for Thomas Tatar. I believe that was Joe Veleno it turned into.
Yeah.
Peyton Krebs part of the Eichel deal, and the two guys they still have, Brendan Brisson, or Brisson, I'm pretty sure it's Brisson, but, you know. And Zach Dean. Now, the other guy, okay, whatever with those two, but, you know, it is... This trade very much is Vegas's identity, isn't it? AKA, we want to win now, and we don't care about... Like, what prospects do they have left? Like, honest question. I mean, there's that saying about, like, hey there, so, you know, missing out on the first round pick sets your franchise back 3 years. Like, at this point, like, Tuck was... He wasn't an expansion draft selection, but he was obviously a sweetener to take... Remind me who
Eric Halla.
Eric Halla
from Minnesota. So the Wild gave Alex Tuck in order to protect Matt Dumba,
right? Yeah.
And Matt Dumba and Marco Scandella.
Oh yeah! Wow, that's a weird one. So like Tuck's been there for a while, but I mean, let's be honest. If he had some trade protection, by the way, what's the chances that Eichel gets dealt in 2 years? Because Vegas' identity.
You
anyway.
get frustrated.
Yeah, and he's just like, I don't like it here anymore. There's no loyalty. I still can't believe the bull crap to do with those conditions. So for Buffalo side of things, I'm gonna say this, and that is, listen, it's a fine return. I remember earlier in the year when Friedman said, so they wanted from Montreal, for example, Suzuki and Caulfield, right? How did it turn into this? Because I think it was Vogel did tweet out that there was external pressure was starting to hit the Sabres here. I don't know if you saw, but they got a team dog. And Kim Pegula replied saying, name it Sabre, and she had her dog. And it was just like, okay, what's that? Whatever's going on here. And people were still like, yeah, how about Eichel? How about Jack? That'd be pretty. How about
That's the name of the dog.
That's it. I just, what frustrates me right now is I look at this return, I'm like, could other teams not have matched this? You know what I mean? No offense to Peyton Krebs and Alex Tuck, but I mean, Alex Tuck, he's a good player, but he's a complimentary piece for Jack Eichel. You know, obviously there is leverage from the Sabres, aka the leverage for them is they actually don't have any. Except for they have Eichel, but then again, they needed to get it done. But I'm just looking at this, I'm like, I'm not so much mad at the Sabres, because I think we've already expressed everything they've done wrong in this scenario. And by the way, at the end of the day, it's so cool that Eichel is finally getting a surgery, because we know Vegas are cool with their replacement.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hot take, he'll make it to the Olympics. He'll do this, no, let me finish. He's going to do the athlete thing. He's going to be on, because, you know, there's that thing of like athletes are just, I remember McDavid was supposed to miss like a year and he rehabbed. And I know necks are different, but I just have a thing he'll go like super athlete thing and somehow he'll get back. And I don't know, he'll call up Gary Roberts and something will happen. Watch, he'll do it. I believe it. I'm rooting for him to do it.
The Olympics are in February, right?
Yeah, I think so.
February.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like maybe, but
then he could.
I thought I'm rooting for him. But
if he gets it right now.
And this is going to be like Steven Stamkos' watch in 2014. Remember that? Where like up until the last minute, he's like, I'm definitely making the team. He's like, I'm not making the team.
It's a shame. Well, I'm annoyed at other teams looking at this and I'm thinking, Carrie, shut up. And the dog's being lippy. She's upset too. because I'm just annoyed that no one could. You look at a price like this, and regardless of the circumstance, people aren't going to give a crap about the context here. This is going to hang over the Sabres, saying, "How is this not done sooner? If this was the return." Because it's kind of crap. I'm not going to lie. I mean, Mark Stone, if you look at a great prospect, no one cares about a third, so it's a prospect right now which we don't exactly know where he is with Peyton Krebs. Because Vegas seems to hate playing young players when you think about it. Remember when Cody Glass couldn't get in the lineup? Maybe I'm a bit better as a Habs fan, because I'm like, how did you not get this deal done? You could have done this at the draft. Like, so many teams could have matched this deal and the cap side of it. If Vegas could figure it out... Let's be honest. We could probably see that William Karlsson's going to be on LTR by the end of the day if he isn't already. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of thinking to myself, how the hell was this not done? And how could teams not have beaten this? Barely Carolina were in it, and you're thinking, get out of here.
Carolina's in on everything. No, I just think, well, for one part, the surgery. Like, we know, I think it was a couple weeks ago, it was David Pagnotta and someone else who had kind of confirmed that there's Emily Kaplan, 6 teams left in the race, and they were all willing to give the surgery. Now, I'm not saying the 26 teams remaining didn't want to give him the surgery. I don't know what was up there, but we know those 6 teams were willing to give him the surgery, and it really didn't make sense for him to be traded to a team that wouldn't give him that surgery. The other thing is, I think as time goes on throughout the summer, when this whole saga started, not only did the Buffalo Sabres start to lose leverage because they weren't doing a great job in terms of negotiating this trade because there were such restrictions on it, but I think in a way he also loses value, not because he wasn't playing, but because he's sitting there with a nerve disc sitting on a nerve, and he's not playing, he's not practicing, he's not like, I don't think you can really train, and if you can, you're not training to the best of your abilities. So it just seems that the longer they waited, the worse things got, because they put themselves in a crappy situation.
What I think about with this is I really thought Buffalo were going to be more swift this time. And I know different situation, but I think about the Taylor Hall one where they waited until the wee hours before the deadline to get something for him. And I know that Hall had a different situation where he wanted to go somewhere, but we saw what the other offers were similar to that. And with this one, it is a bit underwhelming because I think I mentioned to you guys last night that before Kevin Weeks had that tweet about Matthew Tkachuk, I had another proposed deal that worked technically on cap friendly with the Sabres. And I actually I took all the factors Alex said about Jack Eichel's situation coming into the season, and I catered that trade to make it look like that, where the money works out, the prospects work out. And I thought, taking all those factors, that was underwhelming. And it included Sean Monahan, Connor Zary, and the same type of draft picks that the Golden Knights had. And I think even this trade is still underwhelming based on what they got.
So, yeah, at the end of the day, what's going to happen here in revisionist history is going to be a thing, is you traded a top 10 player in the league for a second-line power forward. We'll see what happens with Krebs and a first rounder. We'll see what happens, but I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, Eichel. Did you guys see what Robin Leonard just tweeted?
No, what did he say? It's
a GIF of a Sabre celebration, and it's Eichel starting off hugging Ryan O'Reilly, then goes and hugs Sabre at the time, Robin Leonard. Just thought that was really funny. Teammates. And all of the Evander Kane's in the background of that too, so you think, wow. It's funny to think what that Buffalo Sabres team had in the past. Okay, so now we can look at this for Vegas. They get Jack Eichel.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. We could just finish there. No, okay.
So I'm gonna get up Daily Face Off. Obviously, it's gonna be a bit of a mess right now, but you can kind of see a scenario where your top line is, I think this is pretty good. It's Max Pacioretty, Jack Eichel, and Mark Stone.
When healthy, all of them.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Yeah, and then you can still somehow retain. And listen, there may be some kind of garbo when it comes to sort of like, oh god, how are we going to fit some cap stuff? Worry about that. That's Vegas's problem for later. Don't worry about it. So then you can still kind of retain that second line combo of Carlson and Smith and Marchessault, which is sort of like if you go back to it, because we obviously know that's been a staple there for a while. The Donauv's been good for them. You move Chandler Stevenson down as well. Matthias Janmark's in there. Keegan Colasar's been a decent story. And all of a sudden, let's look at that. Eichel, Carlson, Stevenson, who at his best was a depth center in Washington. All of a sudden, say it with me, the Vegas Golden Knights have center depth.
It took them years, but they have center depth.
It's very much in their identity of the best players available. I want to go get them.
Shout out to Logan Stevenson not Logan Stevens. Chandler Stevenson. Logan Stevenson's a Florida prospect from before. Shout out to Chandler Stevenson for holding down the top line center position for this long.
Mm-hmm. Now no one can complain about when Stevenson goes down. It's like, oh my god, they lost their top line center, even though it's kind of like Phil Deneau playing your first line. So it's like, he's a good depth one, but your number one, you don't win like that. You may make it to the finals, but you're not going to win.
You know what I kind of feel with this, which is pretty great once Jack Eichel returns?
Yeah.
By separating themselves from two guys that were playing in the top 9 with Braden Krebs and Alex Tuch, they actually built top 9 depth now. Because Chandler Stevenson could probably go back to the wing.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a good situation when a center has to play the wing too.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was still again, it's funny that even getting rid of Tuch, like all of a sudden, and again with Krebs, that they're somehow a deeper team, even though when healthy, I should say, because right now, if you look at if you look at daily faceoff right now for Vegas, it's not great.
No.
But I mean, dude, it's something. You have to give credit that Vegas have had the balls to go out and just make a move when there are so many GMs in this league that refuse to do so. And I saw this tweet going around that was, Vegas have taken advantage of the fact that a lot of teams have been afraid to trade prospects or first rounders in the past. How long was the Sam Bennett thing a thing in Calgary?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So we look at that, and I mean, Max Pacioretty, okay, listen, Suzuki trade wasn't great when you look at it, but Pacioretty is a good player to bring in. Stone's your first captain, really good. Speak what you will about their playoff performances in history, not great. But still, I mean, you got Theodore, somehow still. You got Pietrangelo in from free agency because you're Vegas. I'm just saying, you took advantage of getting Robin Leonard when everyone was like, no, he's going to go to Carolina, I think we were saying back then. Because it used to be every goalie's going to go to Carolina or Edmonton.
Remember we thought he almost went back to the Islanders because of that tweet, that Darren Dreger tweet with Ilya Sorokin?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Yes. Oh
Never forget. Besides that, I like it.
The thing with the Vegas side of this is that Tuch was going to be out until I think January. So really, you're not yes, you're losing Payne Krebs, who's currently in the lineup, but you're not missing a significant piece for more than 3 months. Instead of going for an entire season without Alex Tuch and Jack Eichel, you're going with from February to whenever your season ends. That's when you're missing Alex Tuch and Jack Eichel.
In terms of comparisons, this is going to be a bit of a hot take, but okay, so Dom Luszczyszyn, he already wrote an article about this, and he said in terms of the return, he didn't want to mention the Mark Stone situation because he said they absolutely fleeced the Senators, but he's comparing it to a Mike Richards trade where, you have then prospect Braden Shen, you have an emerging Wayne Simmons who plays a similar style to Tuck back in the day. And he wants to compare that type of return. But in terms of what I think it's different where you have a number one guy like Jack Eichel. And I don't know, is this like the Leafs in 2015, 2016, where you trade away, Shane Wright's coming and the Sabres are probably going to fall back to reality? And is it kind of like the Leafs where, they know Austin Matthews is going to be there?
So what? It's like the Kessel trade?
Yeah. That return was like, okay.
I mean, Phil Kessel didn't need a neck surgery, and they kind of bent him over for nearly an entire year.
Mm.
But I get what you mean. But like that trade was gonna, even if they had gotten the surgery, they were never gonna trade Eichel. Like it was. Remember, it was supposed to be his team, but like he was gonna be gone. Like. And unless you're trying to say for Vegas' point of view, but with Vegas, they can afford to maybe have a subpar first half of the year because they're in the Pacific. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't see it the same way as that. I mean, right now, I just, you have to also kind of take in the feel of your room. Right now, if you're the Sabres and you see that you are currently tied with your 401 rivals and the Stanley Cup champions, and your captain and your team have this big divorce going on, you're going to see a guy like Tuck coming in and you're going to play harder. That's the kind of a guy that, even if he is a complimentary piece on the roster, you know what? Those guys sort of rub off on the room. And if you're the Sabres, you can try and lose, but that team isn't going to... Like, listen, it's hard to see them finishing last, too, because they've had a good start. Good starts screw you up. We've seen that countless times. But sorry, to go back to your thing is I don't see similarities there. Like, we knew it was going to be over.
Okay.
Yeah, so by the way, I'd say that Vegas won the trade because they got Jack Eichel, by the way.
Yes.
But what's funny, Buffalo got better technically.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, they got what they wanted, but they just I don't think they got enough. Maybe comparing that. Pardon?
I think it was a B. I'd rate the trade for them.
They got you. The thing is I think maybe what I'm doing is comparing it to that Calgary trade where it's like, well, if that offer was on the table, it's like, I'd take that offer 10 times out of 10. Yeah. But if then the thing is Matthew Tkachuk on the table? Obviously there's conflicting reports on that. So who really knows? It's just, I think looking at that trade, they could have gotten more if they had done this earlier.
Yeah. You brought up like that point, Alex. I really agree with that. The Matthew Tkachuk factor, that as much as I view him as a building block, as I view him as a guy that is going to get better, maybe there was those internal discussions that we don't know about. Maybe he wasn't going to sign. Like, it's going to be another headache.
His
in restricted free agency.
Is $9 million, so it's not going to be fun. Okay, is it me or are we starting to hear a lot of rumbles about Tkachuk every year now? Because there was the stuff over the summer that he requested a trade. No, it's all going to happen. He jokes about holding out, even though he didn't.
He's going to Ottawa.
Or St. Louis. It's just, I don't see that relationship lasting because there's a lot of smoke. And you know what the saying is, when there's smoke, there's fire. I don't think there's a coincidence that we just keep hearing stuff, even if it's not the Flames putting it out there. It's the Tkachuks. You know what I mean? There's going to have to be a sacrifice in Calgary because there's a lot of money that's going to have to be spent next offseason with all those free agents.
Yeah, and you have to make the decision, where is your money best spent? Like, if this is just going to be a continuous battle year after year between the Matthew Tkachuk and the Flames, and I don't want to pick sides. It just seems like there seems to be butting heads between the organization and the player. Or the family. Like, that's just what it seems like. Then you know what? Maybe it's not best to pay him because Brad Treliving's not going to say, well, let me step down so someone else can take the mantle and deal with Matthew Tkachuk and maybe he'll do it better. Like, that's just unrealistic. maybe it is better to trade him. Like, I don't know what the solution here is, but whatever is happening now is not working.
You know what I just realized?
Hmm.
Forget about Battle of Alberta with a potential Eichel being there, which is obviously isn't going to happen now. He could have been the Boston Pizza guy in Calgary, guy from Boston area. I'm just realizing it's a real shame that didn't happen.
That
But
was
I mean,
that was a fun rumor for what 3 hours last night.
yeah, that was great, wasn't it? Just makes that show feel like
So what's
silly
the
now.
rivalry now? Golden Knights.
It's not well. I mean, they're still in the same division, Connor and Thingy,
Yeah.
Connor and Jack. But I mean, if you're speaking about the juggernauts, quote unquote, it's going to be him versus McKinnon now. Not in the same division, but could you imagine McKinnon and Eichel going at it year after year in conference finals and that?
That'd be fun.
That'd be pretty sick. The Avs need to pull it together, by the way.
Yeah, Darcy Kemper has been not Darcy Kemper.
They weren't great. Like last night, they fall down early, and then even they come back against Columbus, but then they just Kadri loses his man in OT, and you're like, we need to. They'll figure it out, but they need to do it soon because the Central is looking awful fun right now. Okay. Thanks for nothing, Calgary. The one time I was interested in your team, and you just do that. How dare you?
Have fun using Sean Monahan on the fourth line.
Yeah.
Man, by the way, can Dylan Strome please be freed? Because
Oh my
you want
goodness.
to talk about not being used properly. And just being scratched in the fourth line role when your game clearly doesn't fit there. Look no further than Dylan Strome in Chicago.
Does he go to Calgary?
Montreal.
The consolation
please.
prize.
Montreal, please.
What's the return?
What do they want? It's like the best draft pick? I don't know.
A third
Whatever
round
it
pick
takes.
protected? I don't know. Just get him out of there. Let him play.
Third round protected, and if it is, then we swap third rounds in 2024, and you get a conditional sixth. The condition on that is if he scores 30 points. Tell me that doesn't work in the NHL. I don't know. Just go get him. They need a center. Druin can't be playing center. That can't be happening anymore.
It's
Okay.
happening again after. I remember when I first met Adam, and that was the thing I kept asking. Where it's like, how long is Jonathan Drouin going to stay as center?
What did I say to you back then?
I don't know. You said something about like he's underrated, that just let him show it, and then like I think a year after, it's like, yeah, he definitely cannot play center again. This was 2018, 2019.
Okay, did I say his center game or his skill in general, though?
You just said no. You did that. When you're like, oh, what are they going to do then? That high pitched thing you do sometimes.
All right. On that note, this is when it's good to record when I'm tired because my voice doesn't hit those Whitney Houston levels of notes.
The Jeff Skinner goal, that's still my favorite.
Oh, yeah, isn't it? Okay.
Buffalo. He is now their guy, is he? No,
He
he's
is.
their guy.
When it comes to money.
It's time for him to carry the offense.
On that note, you may have lost Jack Eichel. You have Jeff Skinner. It's funny that Eichel is probably the reason Skinner scored 40.
Yeah.
It's such a great year, and he got that contract. Okay. Screwed, but I don't want to say he screwed Buffalo because he gave you like 300 and thingy points in 360 games, and he was really good. And then you just didn't let him get his neck surgery, and now you're gonna look like idiots if he goes to Vegas and he comes back and wins a Hart Trophy because he probably will. That's everything.
We're on
Hockey
Olympic
fights-
watch.
What?
We're on Olympic watch for Jack Eichel.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's February, but we could start that in January when Tuukka Rask should be back too.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be interesting. Maybe Patrick Marleau shows up then because what the heck is he doing right now? Not to the Olympics, but maybe he'll just show up and he'll go back to San Jose. Yeah, it's Hockey Fights Cancer Month again. Remember that. Screw cancer. Love to see it. Besides that, Thank you for listening. Download the show. Sorry if we sound tired, or mainly me, because I hate the Flames and Mark Bergevin. Anyway, thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out the show's social medias, including TikTok. I said that already, but I don't care. Check out Alex's blog, my YouTube channel, Daniel's stuff for CGRU. He's got like 12 things in the pipeline. And besides that, we'll see you later.